back to the Mob Mentality Show. I'm Chris Lucian and my co-host is Austin Chadwick. And today we have Nicolas Umiastowski and Cedric Martin. And we're going to be getting into a number of questions. And so maybe Nicolas, you can start by introducing yourself and then Cedric can go afterwards.
Yeah, thanks for having me in the show. So I'm an Agile coach. I'm French and based in Paris, actually. So it's I'm very grateful to you to invite me. I'm currently working for a consultancy and my contracts are mostly in big organizations. I help them adopt Agile frameworks, work on soft skills, change management, people and interactions. I'm not a technical coach, but I'm convinced that technical agility is a very important part of Agile. Actually, Agile cannot be done without technical agility. I mean XP, clean code, constant refactoring, even TDD. So when I coach teams, organizations, and managers, I always introduce them to the technical aspect of Agile so that they don't forget it in their Agile transformations.
Okay, for me, my name is Cedric Martin. I'm French, based on Paris, and I'm consultant for a company named Octo Technology. Most of the time, I'm a developer or tech lead, a trainer in practice like TDD or code review. From time to time, a software reliability engineer, and actually, I'm a software craftsmanship coach. I'm also convinced that software craftsmanship is part of agility, and in fact, I present software craftsmanship practice as agile practice. And that's why we are here, Nicolas and me, because we work a lot together. We have different profile, but we have the same vision of agile and craftsmanship. Nicolas often bring me when he thinks teams should work deeply on software craftsmanship and on technical practice. And in those contexts, we use a lot of mob programming to help teams.
Fantastic. It's pretty exciting to see pair coaching going on and kind of the tag team dynamic that you both seem to have. That's awesome. Well, I heard you mention mob programming. So how did you both you discover mob programming? Maybe starting with you, Cedric.
Yes, I discovered mob programming on the blog a few years ago. At this time, I was on a project, and we had a lot of difficulties on the code base. Firstly, the code was a mess without any test strategy. Some file contains more than 10,000 lines of code, and on top of that, there were a pile of bugs. The business was asking for more and more features. Moreover, the atmosphere on the team was not really good. Often we were working on our own. Coding review were frightening, and we didn't work as a team. In that context, I decided to tell the team to try mob programming to work on a tricky bug we had, which require a deep reworking of part of our architecture. And we did it, and we succeed. Two things: solve the bug, make the code more understandable and readable, and be efficient and enjoy working together. It was remarkable for me because we succeed to solve two main pains on our team during a short of time.
Yes. To me, I discovered mob programming via an interview of Woody Zulu on the internet and the video time lapse that you did. And I immediately had the feeling that it was certainly a fantastic way of working working collaboratively on code. I even went to Dublin in Ireland to attend a workshop by Woody Zulu. And this workshop was fascinating, especially the way he taught us the art of listening, of not trying to impose one's view to the other team members. It was not just coding. And I set up a video conference with Woody at my clients, where he presented mob programming to a big audience, many developers and teams. And following this video conference, I proposed to some teams to try it. And one of the teams said, okay. And we started the week after in a meeting room for several days. And I can add that we met again with Woody in Paris some years after, at the time when he could travel around the world in conferences. And he gave a sort of private talk on the topic of no estimate for some of our customers. So it's very cool to meet Woody Zulu.
Oh, fantastic. Well, those are great origin stories with mobbing, and you know, hearing about where you use mobbing, it makes me interested in the context. Can you each tell a little bit more about that context in which mobbing was used, maybe starting with you, Cedric?
Yes, I do it in training session or to work on the user story, and it can be all type of code, application code on Java, for example, or infrastructure code like for Ansible or Terraform. And it can be for a day to solve a problem or for several months. I use it first of all as a tool to make teams to find a collective solution to a problem. It can be on a specific pattern or on architecture basis, to put an architecture basis, or on application design. And the second reason to use it for me is for sharing and learning. With a practice like a code review, we can actually learn how the actual code base work, but we don't have the knowledge of the different decisions made by the author, because we arrived, of course, after the code was written. With mob programming, what is powerful is we can learn how the code works and understand why we have taken those decisions. That knowledge help people and that knowledge make people to take pragmatic decision, because they see all the part of the problem. And currently, I do mob programming full time with a team that I'm trying to help on their technical practice. We work on their regular backlog to implement features, and I bring my craftsmanship experience to help them on that part.
Yeah, for my part, I also noticed that mob programming is very useful to accelerate onboarding of newcomers, for instance, junior developers or just new developers. Secondary, to communicate more. In mob programming, there is actually constant communication, and learning with fun. And when you have fun, you learn better. I learned it from the training from the back of the room. It is always better to learn and have fun at the same time. So our mode of collaboration with Cedric. So Cedric teaches a new skill, and I am more focused on people interactions. And in mob programming, there are a lot of interactions. People chat all day long, actually. And I observe, do they listen to each other? Do they know how to get to a consensus? Is there psychological safety? You can detect all that during mob programming sessions. And my job of coaching is then easier. And I can use that to better coach the team. So in my context, mob programming is often informal. People come just with their computer, and each day we use the computer of a different team member. I do the timekeeping by myself and ask them to rotate. there is no very strict duration for rotations. So I just try to make it pleasant, energetic, and keep people focused. And since not all developers are fans of craftsmanship or agile, sometimes it could even be boring for them. So working in a mob makes it more fun, more interesting. So it's a good thing. And with all the team that I have coached, don't do it full time, but more like learning sessions, 2 or 3 sessions a week, for instance.
I really love what you had to say about learning is easier when it's fun. I think, you know, in our situation, we experience the same thing. And I think that the social aspects of mob programming provide so much relief, especially during remote work. And so it's, you know, that's one of the benefits. So maybe you each can describe what benefits you received, what you gained, what you noticed while mob programming. Maybe Cedric, if you wanted to go ahead.
Yes, I see two main benefits. Agree on a solution and share experience and knowledge in a problem solving. That's why I like to use it in a tricky problem. Making everyone agree, first of all, on a common solution, help to find the best solution possible for a problem, because you have a lot of people who think about a code at a time, and they can all bring their knowledge and experience, so they can you can cover the problem entirely. Also, it helps to create collective code ownership. People with teams who work a lot in mob programming, I noticed that people stop saying your code is like this or like that, and start to saying our code is like this, and it change their behaviors. Moreover, mob programming is a good way to share knowledge and experience. Some type of knowledge can be learned in book, and experience less. So working on and practicing with a more experienced developer is priceless, because he transmits more than just a pattern of a code. He helps to understand why it's good and helps to avoid traps with that pattern. Without that, it can take a lot of time to master a practice, like TDD for example. So it's a good practice to do, and also to learn from other.
Yeah,
for me.
It's cool to see that they will ever learn and share some keyboard shortcuts, for instance, IDE configuration, some tips and tricks, some plugins. So they also learn the details, and they learn a lot about each other, actually, the human aspect. So it struck me that even if they had been working close to each other for several weeks in the same room on the same desk, there are some things that they had never shared before doing more programming. So that's what makes it so powerful, this continuous knowledge sharing, from the more complex to the most trivial thing. So people share on the code, but also about themselves. For instance, we have done mob programming with Cedric to help a team who wanted to improve their refactoring skills. And they had a data science background. So they were not, I would say, seasoned developers. Actually, they work on a chatbot with a vendor tool and artificial intelligence in it. And some of these developers have more psychology degree. So you see, it's not full-time experienced developer. And one day I asked them if their code was readable, maintainable, scalable. And they said, actually, we have a problem because we add more and more code to customize a conversational agent. You think you will just add some lines of code from time to time, but there is always more to add. And with time pressure, you just make it work, but without test and refactoring. And then it becomes what you call a spaghetti code. So I explained that Agile is also working differently on the code, programming in a different way if you push Agile to the technical side. And so, of course, I asked Cedric to come and help on that.
They came to see if I could be able to help them to refactor their code, even if they were a little bit skeptical. So when I see that, first thing I do is to start to convince them. So I started with the refactoring of Tennis Kata from Emily Bash. They like the exercise, but they didn't think it would be possible on their code because they really thought that the two codes were too different. So we started to work in mob programming together, so that I had a chance to show them it was possible, because if it's code, it can be rework, refactoring. The problem was they didn't have any unit tests or integration tests, and didn't know how to write them, in fact. So I had to teach them how to do, because for me, refactoring without any kind of test was not an option. I have been able to teach them unit testing and refactoring, but also some general stuff on the programming language, like difference between reference and value, and practice with them on their code in mob programming. And a thing I noticed is after 2 or 3 sessions of 2 hours, they started to do unit tests on their own without my input, because they saw and understand how unit tests can help them to find errors with automations, but also how it can help them to develop faster. And for me, it was possible because we have done that by mob programming on their code.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think that's one big benefit that I've seen as well, is they take kind of the classroom theoretical kata stuff and make it real life in their code, and that's a fantastic story. I'm also really loving the dynamic of you two as pair coaches, because for each thing that's happening in the context, you each are noticing different things, and I think it's really cool. And maybe one other thing that you both have noticed in your context are, what are some obstacles or limitations or challenges you've had with mob programming? Maybe starting with you, Cedric.
Yes, for me, obstacles, we need to have at least a person to lead, and we need to have everybody concentrate on their code. If it's not the case, I prefer to stop, because it's a waste of time. For example, when we need to read a documentation and we don't know what we have to do precisely. In that case, I think be all together to read a documentation on our own is not efficient. And it happened with the team I talked about previously. There was a problem in the Python project and the test framework, because we just added. I'm mostly a Java developer, so I couldn't find a quick solution to that, and they didn't either. So we decided to stop the session so that we can individually check the documentation, try some solution, or try to debug the thing. And then the day after, one person arrived with the solution, and we applied it as mob. If we hadn't stopped, each one would have had the impression towards their time and the energy. I will say also logistic can be a problem too. If it's too complicated to book a room or to set up a room for mob programming, it will be harder to do it regularly. And in fact, I experienced that already also on the team. And to avoid that, having a TV and a big screen in the same place where we work can help a lot.
We have also found that the COVID situation and its consequence, full-time remote work, has had an impact. People became tired of phone calls all the day, not seeing each other, not being in the same room, in front of a big TV, not having lunch together. So it was great to be able to work remote, but I guess it's not the perfect situation, particularly when you are new to the team. Sometimes you have to meet people in person to really understand them. Apart from that, one possible advantage is that you don't need to book a room when you work remote. And also, no manager will stop in front of the meeting room and ask what happens. Why are there 5 developers working on a single computer? So we avoid that with a remote work.
Yeah, I think that the remote work has definitely had some interesting impacts on the way that we do work and things along those lines, especially in the mob programming world, because you're right, you don't get that direct face-to-face that you would normally with other people. One thing we noticed though is getting a hold of external stakeholders had become easier for us. I don't know if you'd experienced anything similar like that, but like product owners and things. So let's see. So both of you have different skills. You're doing pair coaching, and the teams are learning both Agile and software craftsmanship. And so how did how did that come up, and maybe you can describe a little bit more about that. Nicolas, if you'd like to go ahead.
Yeah, regarding your question before, I think also it's easier to engage everyone in the team, even the owners. And I would say for managers, it's about the team working together when we are remote, because they see everyone working. And sometimes it's not the case if everyone works solo when you are remote. And regarding your question, so actually, yes, we coach in a pair. So I prepare the groundwork for the craftsmanship coach, actually, because I'm just the coach, not technical. So what I do is spend some time on mindset, putting in place a Scrum or Kanban or Safe, writing good stories, co-constructing the product with the customer. And when it's okay, when we have put the foundation, I ask a simple question: is your code readable, maintainable, and scalable? And is your code painful to work on? And often, most of the time, people will say that something is not really right with their code. So I explain that it will not be good for the agility, because sooner or later they will spend more time correcting bugs than working on new features. Then I talk about craftsmanship. For me, it's part of agility. And I call the craftsmanship coach, like Cedric, to the rescue.
And actually, it helped me a lot to work with him. When I arrived alone on the team, people can be suspicious because they are afraid to be judged by the quality code guy. They are afraid, even if I try to show me open-minded as possible. with Nicolas' help, it's easier to gain their confidence. Sometimes they didn't know anything about the software craftsmanship, and they think it's yet another fancy methodology or buzzword. That will not help them on their work. So when an Agile coach promotes this as part of Agile, it's easier to not appear like a crazy guy with all that solid principle stuff, TDD, BDD, DDD, Kata, or Dojo. And it's the same with manager, because they always know or have an idea of what is Agile, but not always software craftsmanship. Moreover, the problem we try to solve are complex. When we work with a team, we often discover different type of problem: code problem, test strategy, CI/CD, or organizational problem, and they are often intertwined. And actually, we discovered them by trying to solve another one. So for that, it is good to have at least one technical coach and Agile coach working together.
And actually, the coaching often begins with Agile coach, because in the mind of the customer, the first reason to call a coach is to go Agile, not craftsmanship, because they have heard about Scrum, Kanban, or Safe, but they rarely have heard about craftsmanship.
Nice. Yeah, I could definitely see that. And I love how that you two work together and show, like, well, if you want agility, then you also need technical agility. And if you want craftsmanship, it's good to have these the non-technical stuff going on as well. So it's a good tag team effort, and love hearing about it. We are coming up on time, but is there anything you'd like to share or plug before we close this episode?
Sure. I have created a retrospectives cards game, physical cards to play retrospective in Teams that I have here. So I have created them with Alan Kelly, a great English coach. We have decks available in French and English. So at the moment, they are out of stock, and we hope to find a solution to have new decks printed. You can go to the online shop and get in touch with us to be informed as soon as they are back. And you can always contact me directly at my email address.
Excellent. Yeah, we can put that in the show notes. How about you, Cedric?
If you want, you can contact me on Twitter at AkireFR, or on my LinkedIn profile. That's it.
Fantastic. Well, to all in our audience, if you feel inspired like me by two coaches working well together on the technical and non-technical aspect of it, and you would like to share that with others to show how coaches can work together to really help a team achieve their business goals, achieve agility, please like and subscribe, share this episode, and until next time, mob well and have a good one, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.